Welcome to Complete and Cast, the official podcast of Complete and Box video games. I'm your host, Spencer, and today in episode 17, we have When Tournaments Go Bad with guest Michael Kenney. You will recognize Michael from episode 16. Now, for those of you who haven't listened to episode 16, we are doing this live via satellite or Skype. So we have Michael out in Lincoln, Nebraska. Michael, how are you doing today?
Oh, we're doing pretty good, Spence.
I know it's been so long since we last talked. That's the joke I make every time. It's been 2 minutes. I will never get tired of that joke, people. All right, so we spoke last episode 16, at lengths about the current video game tournament scene from the perspective of Michael, who is both a player and an organizer. Now, most of the stuff we covered was positive, examining growth of the scene and a lot of fun memories. But, as I personally know, and let me say that my scale in this is much smaller than Michael's, but I know as someone who sometimes organize and host tournaments at CIB, it can be pretty annoying? Is that a good word for it? For instance, from my personal experience, hosting tournaments can be very rewarding, but with a ton of possible problems. Although we and all my employees plan as much as possible, something always pops up. Always. It is like a law of nature. And you're laughing already because you know. Whether it's faulty equipment, although even if we previously test it, tough competitors, or the like, it can be a headache. So, Michael, let's start with what you call try-harding, but I will call, just to make this a little bit nicer, over-competitiveness. Video games have become much more competitive over the years. Now that there's actual money and everything involved, things can get out of hand. What are your thoughts on the increased competitiveness or tryharding in video gaming?
I think it's great, but there is such a fine line between, being a jerk and being competitive. And a lot of younger people who weren't brought up in, the arcade days don't know, how to approach these situations without seeming like a jerk.
You're saying there's a certain etiquette to it that,
Absolutely.
and actually, we're already going off the questions, but that is a really good point. The arcade etiquette is you are in person next to a person, right? And this can be seen.
Yep.
This can be seen in anything. Like if someone has, we've all seen this. Everyone can relate to this. Someone who makes a huge post on Facebook that you're like, that person would never ever say that to the other person in person. It would never happen.
Yep.
Because that it's not anonymity, it's just a filter of the internet. And a lot of these people, you are correct, didn't grow up playing couch, next to each other, or playing at an arcade where you have to see the person. If you're a jerk to that person, what do you think they're going to do? They might whack you, whereas
Exactly.
online you can talk all kinds of crap that you want, and what are they going to do? Message you? Who cares? So that's actually a really good point that you make. And do you notice it mostly from the younger people, the people that are a little younger than us, or is it kind of seeped into everyone?
There's bad people in any age group, but I see it a lot more from the younger crowd in competitive video games because, a lot of them grew up online, where on Call of Duty you can say anything, or, they just haven't really been indoctrinated into this world of etiquette.
So let me ask, when we talk about etiquette, are we talking and again, this is PG and all that, are we talking them like getting up in people's faces and swearing, or just not having the etiquette to say good game, man, or is it just kind of a mixture of everything?
Man, it's a mixture of everything. It's so faux pas to say maybe that they're just too young. They can act really entitled, and they don't understand anyone but themselves. Using the Smash Bros community as an example.
And we'll get into that more later, but continue, yes.
Yeah. They need a specific controller for the really, really try hard, over competitive ones. Not that I'm not using this as a bad thing, but they use GameCube controllers for all Smash Bros games virtually, except 64. And when you have like little, like, 11-year-olds coming out and they try to use their Wii remotes or, their Wii U gamepads, these people freak out. Like, they're inconsolable.
I have a really good example to back that up. So, a couple years ago, when we were hosting one of our bigger Super Smash Brothers tournaments, one of my employees found a Lancaster-based Smash Facebook group, and he was looking through it, and he noticed that a lot of people were posting about how they were literally at the store. And that's fine, and, it's cool to be like, I'm gonna win. There's banter. I love it, I love banter. Like, I'm gonna beat you, at this game, and you're not ever gonna want to play again. That's fine, right?
Exactly.
There were these two, maybe like 7 or 8 year old kids in it, and that's awesome. I love it when, like, the younger kids are in it. That's really cool. And this one guy made a post about how, like, he saw his seating, and because it's a huge tournament, and how he ends up playing the 7-year-old, and he was like complaining about it, and he was like, I'm gonna beat these kids back to the Stone Age in this game, they're never gonna want to play again. And it's like, dude, it's an 8-year-old, like, get over yourself. Yeah. And when he won, which of course he won because he was like, because he's plays Smash Brothers all the time, he was like, it was easy. And I lost a lot of respect for, that person in particular, but just in general, like, no one in the group was like, dude, come on. You know what I mean? Everyone was like, yeah, win, dude. Yeah, don't even let him get a damage on you. So I can absolutely agree with you that, like, that was just, it was pathetic. And, it just, whatever. You let it be, and it's just part of the tournament, but it's like, there's a point, man. There's a point. Now, speaking of points,
just knowing etiquette.
just an etiquette. There's just an. Football players, they hit each other real hard all game, and at the end, what do? They line up and shake hands, man. Like, even if you don't
shake them, baby.
Even if you're not like a big fan of that guy, it's just part of the game with it. So, speaking of getting to tipping points, have you personally ever found yourself getting to the point of actual anger during a tournament?
No, actually. For all the things that I've hosted, I've made it kind of painstakingly obvious I don't want Smash Bros. There. And again, I know I'm sounding like a jerk right now. I understand that, but the people I deal with are a lot of the older crowd who grew up in the arcade days and, like, know basic things like, when I face a 7-year-old, I'm not going to go to Facebook and trash them. Or I'm not going to complain incessantly about my tournament because I don't have this very specific Japanese converter that is lagless.
I'm guessing that's a thing that happened to you.
Yes, very much so. And the Wii U thing that I was saying happened to me at a local where, like, nobody could even understand why I would let someone use their Wii U gamepad, the touchscreen. I guess in this magical fairyland, it creates some lag, and I understand that lag is the devil in competitive games, but this is a local. This is a local where some kid, 14-year-old, wants to use his Wii U gamepad, doesn't know how to play on a GameCube controller, probably wasn't even alive when the GameCube was, like, at its peak. Okay, he was if he was 14, but still, he doesn't remember it.
Yeah, and, that's just... It's a really good example of etiquette again. If it's at a huge tournament where you enter $100 to enter it, guess what? That kid's not going to be there because he's casual and he just wants to have fun. And that's a part that really gets lost sometimes. It's like, and I find myself, you can ask my wife, I'll have her on as a special guest and she'll agree, that I get very mad when I play people online in Madden. Yes, I will. I am that dude who, like, I'll slam my controller once in a while if something happens. But at the same time, at the end, like, when I'm playing with friends and stuff like that, it's just fun. So if we're talking about your general view of the scene and everything, have you had any personal experiences, whether hosting or at a tournament, where somebody tried to bend the rules or otherwise play unfairly to their gain?
Yes, it's kind of weird because there's no, like, regulating force. There's no FIFA, there's no NFL, there's no Roger Goodell, there's no Bud Selig. Nobody is actually telling us how to play the games. So a lot of times you can slip through the cracks with these very morally objectionable ways to approach competitiveness.
Well, now you got to go into that a little bit. What do you mean by morally objectionable? We got to go into that.
Like, for a long time, when two people are sitting at an arcade cabinet, arcade cabinets traditionally are 2 controllers on the front, joysticks, 6 buttons, and you're right beside each other. What is the best thing you could do to throw your opponent off his game?
Like, mess with them. Like, I don't know, push them or whatever.
Have some elbows, be really imposing. Throw your elbows out a little bit when you play, Maybe get hype, like, while you're doing stuff, shout at your opponent. These very, like, psychologically, I just, yeah.
And is that stuff that you see a lot at tournaments?
That's one thing that's not tolerated anymore. Back in the day, it was very cutthroat. Like, you could get away with stuff like that, and it would just be, a lot of the old guys would defend it, like, we grew up in this. Why can't you new kids, get on our level and fight through the distractions? It's like,
I mean, is there a certain, like, level to it? Like, if you win, can you be like, yeah? Or is it like, once you get to the point of you're, like, in their face, it's too much to you guys?
Anything outside of the match, I find personally completely passable, as long as it's like not literally hitting the person or like getting in their face. Those are the things that can happen, and I don't think I would say that they're bad thing. I don't know, that's a really fine line as well.
A little passion is never wrong. Absolutely,
yeah.
I can't disagree. But I guess if you just like constantly hound the person, it gets to be a little much. Well, as a tournament organizer yourself, what would you do if you saw somebody, being a little too ridiculous? Do you have like an iron boot approach, or do you generally give people warnings before you start doing stuff?
Definitely give warnings, because I mean, a lot of people they're not in these competitive circumstances a lot, and I mean, when you're in a stressful environment, you're not at your best. You can say wrong things, or you just can act like a jerk. So I'll give warnings, and if I mean, I've had to kick people out. So
give me an example.
Warnings too often. It was a specific circumstance of the one time I've had to kick a person out. It was for personal hygiene, and I'd given a warning.
Oh my God.
I'd given a warning 3 weeks in a row, and it was like, all right.
Okay, well,
enough,
that's funny, but a little separate. Is there any like based on like try-harding? Is there any based on that?
As far as that, I've given warnings, but the warnings have gone over well. Like, you'll have the warnings for a big one is when you pause the game or something, you cause the game to stop. The opponent has the right to say, I take this round. So if you're like, that pause situation gets a lot of people like in the audience like really into it, and sometimes you just have to throw warnings out everywhere, because you can't have that environment when a match is going on.
Right. So I mean, that makes sense, because the person who does pause it has stopped it, has stopped the match or whatever was going on. That does totally make sense to me. Speaking of all these big problems in general, do you feel like, and this is a very general question, that tournament locations that you've been to are ready and able to fix any possible problems?
It's really weird, because a lot of the things that if you're not in the scene, like, just having general knowledge of how a game is quote unquote supposed to be played is really difficult. It's colloquial. So if I were to tell someone who is like a casual person who just wants to run a fun tournament, run it how you want to run it.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what we try to do, at the store when we have Smash Brothers stuff, is we try to make it like, yeah, we listen to them and what they want to do, but we try to make it fun, for everyone, because it's casual. We're not playing for a bunch of money or anything. Can you think of any particular situations where a tournament became just a huge mess because of just, the stuff we've been talking about? Or I guess people got too
one
much.
That's like really thrown a wrench into a system. Poor management decisions and such have done that, but it's usually you're able to wrangle people in with just a megaphone.
Where you're able to just kind of like, they're generally set to get a hold of the situation, is what you're saying.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Okay. So, we mentioned earlier in the last part, about these cash tournaments, and you said that some of the stuff that you host is just playing for fun, and some of it is cash tournaments. So, since cash prizes have been introduced, would you say tournaments have gotten objectively better or worse?
As far as I know, I've only been playing in tournaments since it's 2002 or something. There's always been cash prizes, but in the past, like 7 to 10 years, companies have really gotten into it and throwing massive pot bonuses into it. And I think that's really helped the scene in a positive way for some legitimacy. I can play and win $34,000 in this tournament because of that, but it creates that undefinable malice.
Right. I mean, the person who comes in second, I mean, I can't imagine like an instance I'm thinking of, and this is just obviously hypothetical. You got a final match in a tournament with a $34,000 first prize, and somebody presses start.
Yeah,
and
that happened at Evo.
Oh my goodness! And so the person at that situation, the person who pressed start just lost that round. Then.
Yeah, if I remember right, it wasn't even him pressing start; it was his stick. Which, hilariously enough, he was sponsored, and they made the stick
Oh no
malfunction on
Maybe
stage.
That sponsor better be giving him like double. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was not the prettiest moment. But if I remember right, he took the round, and you always should take the round because I mean, you create a bad situation for everyone when you like say, "Oh, I like this guy, I'm not gonna take the round" and such. You just off the top. So yeah, at the biggest stage in fighting games, we had a bad sponsorship moment and a moment that just hurts to watch.
Oh yeah, and I can't imagine how like awkward that would be. Being like, it's not the Mad Catz control. Okay, it is. And I mean that's an absolute nightmare when it comes to stuff like this because these tournaments are live. I mean, so many things we went into it earlier. So much can go wrong. So speaking of nightmares, what would you say your worst nightmare is when it comes to tournament organizing? If I may start. For me, it was always the possibility at our, complete in box tournaments that nobody shows up. Because we personally always run free to enter tournaments, where we just give out store credit to the winner. We were never really able to have pre-signups. I mean, there would simply be too many people that didn't show up because there's no, well, not I want to say no incentive, but there's no money incentive for them to show up. So, for instance, on Super Smash Brothers tournament days, we would get all the equipment set up. I would literally, have an extra employee in that day. We move stuff around, yada yada, and you don't know how many people, would show up. For instance, and I think I talked to you about this before, in 2015, our Smash Brothers Wii U tournament had a ridiculous 128 people in it. We actually
so you capped the bracket?
We actually had to turn people away. Yes, like we've never had to do that before. Once we got to 128, we were like, "I'm sorry," and I hate to do that.
Yep.
But then, for honestly little reason, in my opinion, the next year we had about 60 people in it. So I went into the 2016 tournament having like 2 extra employees, all this extra like stuff. Like for instance, for us, I had to borrow like 3 Wii U's from a couple friends and employees. We had to get 4 copies of the game. We had to get all these GameCube adapters. You know what I mean? And then what happened was half the people showed up. I could have done it on 2 or 3 Wii U's. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
So, as a free tournament, we don't have to, turn people away, but that difference between 120 and 60 people is huge. So whenever we host anything, that's my biggest nightmare. Do you have any particular, biggest nightmare when it comes to your tournament organizing?
Yeah, you brought up a great point in that pre-registration is just always a nightmare because a lot of people don't do it. And it helps so immensely to be able to know a rough estimate and be able to design brackets that are balanced before the event starts. I mean, it's so much easier when like just 40 people are coming. These 4 people are incredibly good and should not be in the same bracket. That is such it takes the headache out of bracket designing.
Oh, it makes total sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, dude, like, we'll have it where we'll have a perfect, and we're a free tournament, we're a store, we like to get everyone involved, right? So we'll have, like, 64, I remember this happened one time, I was so mad. We had 64 people, and that is a perfect bracket. Like, I can't, 16 and 64 are the perfect numbers, right? Like, they're great.
Yep.
And we were about to start, and then, like, one other person came in. And we were like, dude. And, like, we don't want to turn anyone away because they drove in to see us and whatever, but it's like, 65 is way, unless you, like, really finagle it, 65 is way different. And it's like, we've had that before where we'll start a tournament and then, like, 3 people will be in. They'll be like, oh, sorry, we drove from a half hour away, you know, like, we're here. Can we get in? And it's like, you don't want to be like, no, you know, because we're not, like, a strict tournament where you have to put $100 in, but... Man, that does it is brutal, dude. Now we usually just use challenge.com. It's just a site where you put in people's names and then you just can kind of randomize stuff. But again, if you have 15 people in a bracket compared to 16, the 15 bracket looks like a crazy family tree. Like it's like so like there's so many like winners and losers brackets, and it's like so weird. So I absolutely,
there's so many buys.
I absolutely agree
like 85
with you.
Buys.
And like, hey, a big tournament, you know, they have to get a ballroom, you know, at a hotel room, and they gotta, you know, like, I hope these people show up. You know, it's
a complete nightmare because people who show up on the day of, like, just put so much stress on the people day of. Because I mean, you're talking like 800 people in these brackets in a lot of these games, and a lot of people complain if they're in a quote-unquote death bracket where 7 of the people in their bracket are world-renowned Japanese players.
Well, it is like, what you're gonna, if you want to win, you're gonna have to beat them eventually anyway. I mean,
exactly, yeah.
I mean, what do you just hope that like somehow all the good players beat each other up, and then another not so good player somehow beats them? It's like, so you're not the New York Giants. You're not making the Super Bowl and then gonna knock them out.
Exactly. So you shouldn't be complaining in the first place. But I mean, I can understand the frustration and like, I don't want to play these 7 people right off the bat. I understand that. But if that's the case, then sign up early. Dude, you know, if you don't want to be in this bracket, sign up early so we can actually adjust you into a bracket more suitable to your skill level.
I mean, legitimately, and you've been in stuff way bigger than our store and I have. But when people are like, oh, can I be in the opposite side of the bracket as my brother? It's like so hard to get everybody's particular, like, I want to be this, I want to be this, I want to be this. It's like so difficult. And of course you don't want to have the 2 best people play in the first match of the first round. But you know, if you're going to make it like random, then you got to make it random, you know? It's very everyone wants to see the 2 best people in the finals, hopefully, but obviously that doesn't, you know, always happen. So
it's very hard.
Going into, we actually blew through this a lot faster than I thought, so we have some time for particular stories on this subject. I already know the answer to this. But is there one particular game that you don't like hosting?
Yeah, sorry to throw my Smash Bros. Fans under the bus. I mean, I have in this episode already. I'm sorry. I'm a jerk. But yeah, I really did not like hosting Smash Bros. For Wii U. I have a house, so these people come out in incredible numbers, and I am a huge fan of their devotion to this game, but I don't have the space for it, and I also don't have the patience for it.
No, you said come out in incredible numbers. What are we talking here?
I think when the game was like new and everybody was into it, we were pulling like 40 people in my house.
In like a single house, wow.
Like total, including the fighting games. So it's not as dramatic. It's not just 40 Smash players, luckily. But yeah, including our side and their side. It created this like schism where it's like a lot of the fighting game guys were like, yo, it's too hot in here. And then the Smash Bros guys were like, yo, screw those guys. It was ugly.
So now, and this is, we're talking in great general terms, but I've seen it a lot, and when I went out and visited you in Nebraska, I noticed it as well, that a lot of, and again, I have a lot of friends that like Smash Brothers, and I like Smash Brothers too. I'll play it. You know, I'm not good. I'm
casually,
terrible.
I love the game.
I mean, that's why I hate it, because I'm bad at it, right? I mean, But I noticed that a lot of people who like Smash Brothers are two things. They are very similar no matter where you go. Like, dude, I felt like I was back home in Lancaster when I was there
Yeah.
with the Smash people. It was amazing. And you and your fighting game friends will pretty much play anything. Like, you might be like Tekken 4. Okay, now Soul Calibur. Okay, now Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. But it seems like
Yeah.
Smash players. It's like that's it.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
it. Like that's like. Have you ever seen a devotion like that to any game?
No, and that's the frustrating thing about it is because the Smash players really want to be accepted by the fighting game community and they want to be included because they feel like they're a fighting game, and they're not wrong. What they play is it takes as much talent as any fighting game.
Oh, I
But the
absolutely
problem
agree.
is
I
that
absolutely agree.
There's no crossover. They don't play anything else. They don't. It's all Smash for them. So whereas fighting game players are like, okay, I play these 5 games. I don't play Smash. I played Smash with those Wii U guys, and I learned the game, and it was fun and all, but I would never enter it in a tournament. And I don't think many fighting game players would.
And it's just so interesting because like I don't. I consider Smash a fighting game, and let's be clear here. It's very, you have to be very talented to be very good, and there's a clear it's clearly a very tough and good game, but I would never consider it like a straight up fighting game and part of the community because it's its own thing. It's like Smash isn't a fighting game. Smash is Smash. Like it's just like it's because these people are like I play only this. Where it's like if you were like Mortal Kombat, Tekken, I'm like oh those are both fighting games. Because like I could totally see anyone who plays Mortal Kombat be like, "Oh, I mess around in Tekken, sure, let's play." And
Yeah, exactly.
it just boggles my mind, how this can be. And let's point out something real quick. And one of the life is full of great ironies, right? And the most ironic thing, of course, is that the creator of Smash Brothers did not make it and never wanted to make it like a tournament game. He wants people to play it and have fun. And Street Fighter V was created, Capcom's not dumb, to be a tournament game. Like a game that people play in tournaments, and they know this and they do this on purpose. Whereas Smash Brothers, made by Sakurai, and he's like, I don't want it to be a tournament game. It's for fun. And literally all the fans just go, actually no, it's a tournament game.
Yeah, the hilarious thing is Melee is a competitive and incredibly in-depth game on accident. It is glitches that made it so crazy.
Can you explain?
Without those,
can you explain that actually?
Like one of the biggest mechanics in the game is a glitch. It's called L canceling, I believe. It is when you usually in Smash Brothers games when you jump and then fall and then hit the ground. For a short moment, you will be vulnerable, and you can be hit, But in Smash Bros. Melee, you can you can hit the L button right as you hit the ground, and it makes you invulnerable. So, it's also if you've ever watched Super Smash Brothers, it's a very fast game. People move in hops. You can't move that way without L canceling.
Okay, so again, it is something that takes a heck of a lot of skill to pull off.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure
it's on accident.
and that's so interesting, and that's the one that for years now that the Wii U one's out, people have kind of to some extent dropped Melee, but for years people would do nothing but play Melee, and that's just so interesting that that it's that, like you said, that glitch that makes
there are so many glitches in that game that just add up to this completely accidental good game.
Would you say that if we're talking strictly fighting game rules, is Smash Brothers Melee a tournament ready, tournament tried game?
Oh yeah, at this point there's no anyone who wants to detract from the how intensely difficult it is to play this game needs to watch it at a tournament and watch the hand motions of these players. A lot of them get arthritis in their 20s because of Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Lord.
It's incredible.
Well, it's
incredible.
This isn't quite what we're talking about, but I'm curious about this. Would you consider that there to be one fighting game that is the tournament one, like the one that requires the most skill?
That's a pretty hotly debated topic. So, in my opinion, it's always between either the Guilty Gear series or the Virtua Fighter series. I think those both are just have the most depth to them.
Well, now
and need the most
Virtual Fighter hasn't
demand.
been Virtual Fighter hasn't been made for years. Are we talking about like the PS2 ones?
Yeah, like the last one that was made was Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown, and that was like in 2013, I think. So it's been a minute, and you know the state of Sega isn't exactly the most prosperous, so they haven't really had a moment to really succeed it, and that's really sad. That's one of the great tragedies of 3D gaming.
That's interesting because Virtua Fighter 4, I remember playing it and having it being like very difficult, but I don't think I ever realized that it was like that, like specific, you know, like that requiring skill for that.
Yeah,
so.
it's because it's 3 buttons, and that's why it's so, you know, it's one of those games that are so, you know, like the cliche goes, it's easy to pick it up but hard to master, because there's no fighting game that has 3 buttons except Virtua Fighter.
Now you're making me want to pull out a Virtua Fighter 4 again and mess around with that. So we're getting near the end of this part. Do you have any particular like stories to share or any particular Smash hate to share? I mean, we're on the subject, we might as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've been on the soapbox. I'm just gonna take this moment then to tell all the Smash players, or you know, whoever is listening and loves Smash Bros. And loves the competitive scene, I completely enjoy your game. Like I have nothing against you guys, but it's the fact that you guys are in a lot of ways bigger than the fighting game community. So integrating yourselves into our community is causing a lot of stress and unnecessary strife between our communities that I think otherwise wouldn't even exist if we weren't in the same room.
So this is a real thing, the strife between the Smash and the other fighting games.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it's definitely real.
Now, is it Smash Brothers wants to be part of the fighting game community, but I'm guessing the fighting game community doesn't want the Smash people, or would they accept them under certain circumstances?
I mean, for the longest time, we were very, very separate groups. The only time before, I don't know, 2012, I ever remember Smash being in a fighting game tournament was in that huge Evolution tournament where they held Super Smash Bros. Brawl twice. And they had items on and all this like stuff that made everyone cringe. It was an amazing tournament. You gotta go watch it if you haven't. But yeah, so is everyone just like picking up like lightsabers and stuff and really abusing the game? And it is hilarious. But that's the only time I ever remember Smash in a tournament before all of a sudden like Melee fans started getting really vocal and like, we're a fighting game too. And then like the old school guys being like, what, your little platform game is a fighting game? Nah, I don't think so, son. Like, get out of here. And so that created like intense drama. And it's kind of clearing up now. Like, if you want to play Smash, come play Smash at our tournaments. You know, we kind of accept it.
I do feel like they would be accepted much easier and faster if they would just like be willing to also try other things. Like, you can still like absolutely play Super Smash Brothers like almost all the time, but like if someone's like, do you want to play like Mortal Kombat and have fun, or do you want to play like a baseball game and have fun, like just to be like sure, yeah, whatever. But it just seems like every time, like when I was at your house for that tournament thing, like we played like 5 different games, and every time you were like, hey, let's play this, we were like, okay. Like even the games I never heard of, I was like, I'll play it, whatever, I don't care, you know, cool. Whereas the Smash people were just there, like they just played Smash all night and they didn't do anything else. It was like, who wants to play NBA Jam? And it's like, oh, I would never play NBA Jam. It's not Super Smash Brothers. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, that's the point. Like, you know, have fun. You just play something else.
What you saw there was like a perfect microcosm of the fighting game community in Smash. It's just, there's no crossover. No fighting game players play Smash. Okay, there are a few. I like that play the new Wii U one. It's a very small minority. Like, very, very small
Well,
minority.
a couple
But
of your
no
guys,
Smash.
a couple of your guys there would play for fun. They'd be like, "Hey, who wants to play Michael?" And it's like, "I'll play whatever." But no one was like, "I want in on this tournament" kind of thing. Like it just,
Yeah.
they really shut themselves off that way. They just do for that. So, yeah, I don't know. We were talking earlier, and we'll end this up. But we were talking earlier that it's so ironic that like you have a game like Super Smash Bros. Melee that has so much stuff, right? It has like 20 something stages, right? It has all these cute items. It has all these different characters, and what does it always boil down to? The same stage, Final Destination, usually one of the same characters, Fox, and no items. And it's like literally
That's the old lore.
to make that game to like the way they want it, it's like you gut it. And it's like, what is that? Like what
you take all the fun out of Melee when you make it this really stringent you have a top tier in that game. Top tier means like you have the best characters. People only want to play those characters because they think they have the best chance of winning. They only take people to this stage. They have to have items on because it creates some crazy situations. You know, you've really removed a lot of the casual fun, and you've lost me as as a person who will play the game.
Well, I mean, just imagine like you're showing someone a game, and it's like, oh, I want to do the fatality in Mortal Kombat. Oh, we don't do fatalities. You know what I mean? It's like we don't do that. It's like I was thinking of Madden, since that's what I play a lot of, like quote unquote competitively. It's like, oh, I want to run Hail Mary. Oh, we only run the ball.
Yeah, that's a really common thing in games. Is people will like invent rules. You know, everybody had like, oh, that character's cheap, ban him, and like, you know, your dorm room in college. You know,
but. Yeah, it's like, oh, we only play as the Cowboys and we only run the ball. It's like, well, seems fun, and that's essentially what they're doing. So again, this wasn't meant to be a whole Smash Brothers hate thing, but like when we're talking about the problems in the fighting game community, it's a big thing. This schism. Yeah. I mean, I'm not even big into the community, and I notice it. You know, like it's easy to notice for anyone who's around this. So it's like one of those things that definitely has to be worked on. Or else otherwise you will always have this strife between the two sides. So, Michael, we thank you once again for joining us all the way out from Lincoln, Nebraska. It was a pleasure. We'll have to have you on again when we want to talk more on the soapbox.
For sure. Hit me up anytime you want the soapbox.
Hey, I can do that every day, dude. So thank you once again, Michael, and thank you out there in YouTube land for listening.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.